All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I know there's some last minute people coming in, but I first want to say thank you to everyone who's on the call for taking some time out of your Sunday night to join us here as we prepare for the spring 2021 flag football season. I have my boss, Mike Gilligan, on the call here. He will chime in if needed, and one of our oldest, most tenured coach with Penn Athletics, Chuck Lumio. I'm sure a lot of you have had interactions with him. Very positive guy who knows the game very well. He's also on the call and he will add his input if needed. So, without further ado, let's get started. Um, and we're first going to talk about TeamSnap here. So, for those of you who are either new to our program or you need a refresher, we use TeamSnap for primarily everything we do. It's where all of our rosters for all of our teams are housed. So we decided to input all of our ref data into there too. So for TeamSnap, this is mainly where you're going to be updating your availability to work games. As you can see in the graphic on the left, that's basically what you will see if you go into the TeamSnap app on your phone. If you go online, if you're on a computer or an iPad, it'll look a little bit different, but primarily you'll see the time slot for each date with a little question mark bubble next to it, and that's where you're going to put in your availability. So the process for that is pretty simple. You select that box, and you either click yes or no for each time slot. As you can see, the 18th, which is our opening day. There are a couple time slots there ranging from 9 to 2. For each time slot, what you'll do is you'll go in, you'll select yes or no if you're able to work that day, and then from there I'll go and make the schedule. If you have certain commitments in the morning and you can't work, that's fine, as long as you select no and yes for the ones that you can work. If that happens to be later in the afternoon or at different times throughout the day, that's completely fine. But it's very important that everyone selects yes or no, because if we don't see anything selected, we know that we might have to track you down and get your attention to fill that out for us. So if you could do everyone a favor and just select yes or no for all of those time slots, that would be great. In terms of timing for TeamSnap, we're going to push it back even a little further than we were doing last year. We're going to I will send out an email Sunday night after all the games have concluded with an email asking you to update your availability for the following weekend. This is something we want to get a jump start on pretty early in the week so we can get a schedule out fairly quickly. At that point, our deadline for availability is now Monday. So Monday night, we would like for everyone's availability to be updated for the coming week. That way we can begin working on the schedule as soon as possible and get it out to you guys. So that covers everything for TeamSnap. Next, I'll talk a little bit about my assigning process as the referee manager and kind of what goes into your needs for where to find the schedule. So there's 2 referees for each game for those who are new to our program. There's usually 1 referee for pre-K and kindergarten games. They're just kind of there to oversee the operations from the coaches and kind of loosely enforce the rules. It's more of a teaching experience for that age group. Once we get to the playoffs, which is several weeks out, there'll be 3 referees for each of the Super Bowl games. That's our hope. That's what we've done in the past. It just creates more eyes available to watch the game and make any calls that are necessary. Of course, we want older, more experienced refs on the higher level games, high school games, upper level middle school games, especially the high impact games such as Super Bowls and whatnot. That's where our experienced refs are going to be. For the first couple weeks this season, especially this year, we have a lot of new referees. So I'm going to pair those guys up with experienced refs who can teach them the game, teach them how to enforce the rules. That's going to be the primary focus for the first couple of weeks until you can get used to it. That's basically it in terms of my assigning process. If you're a coach or a player, I know we have some referees who coach even multiple teams. I know we have some referees who also play in the Flag Football League. What I ask is when you update your availability at the beginning of the week that you send me a text with your game information for that Sunday so I can keep you at the same field where you're going to be playing. That's important so there's no transportation issues. It's something I've done in the past and that's been very helpful. If there are any concerns that are just like a weekly thing, go ahead and reach out and I'd be more than happy to accommodate. Cancellations, we really shouldn't be seeing them because you're updating your availability, you're putting in when you can work. If something does come up, please try to let me know by Friday evening. That way we can find a replacement. If not, it's really challenging to find someone who can fill your slot. So I understand there's emergencies and whatnot, but just let me know right away so we can find a replacement. So in terms of the schedule, it's a pretty simple process. You go to our website, pennathleticsclub.org, find the flag football section, go to referees and referee assignments. We'll take you to our Google Sheets spreadsheet where we have all of the referee assignments for that week, and that's where every single week's assignments will be. The link will also be included in the email that I'll send out once the schedule is completed. Just in case you can't get to the website or you need something on game day where you can have it right in your email. That will be super helpful, I know. So for referee attire this year, we're gonna start getting more involved. We want to look more like a unit. We're gonna have the referee jerseys with the numbers and the pen patch. They'll be black again this year. We want black shorts from all of our referees. Mike, I don't know if we're going to be giving those out or if you want them to bring their own, but I know we want to be pretty uniform with that.
If they need it, they can pick it up when they get the rest of their gear. Black shorts, black socks, all Nike to match the referee jersey. So yes, get it from us. I mean, if guys, you may have them from last year already, but we definitely want the Nike black shorts and the shirt and the socks and the hat.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, as he alluded to, we're going to add a hat this year, a black hat, and I'll get into the details of picking up those uniforms this week. Of course, the most important things are your whistle and penalty flag. Those are the imperative tools that you're going to use to referee the game. We're asking this year that if you have cleats, which I know a lot of you guys are athletes, so we ask that you use those because you are on a grass field, you are, moving around quite frequently. So if you have cleats, we ask that you do wear them on game days. And of course, you're going to need a mask this year. Just like last year, experiment before opening day, which is next weekend. Use a gaiter, use one of the pen masks that we gave away. Try to see which mask is really going to work best for you to make your calls and blow the whistle. 5 to 7 p.m. All this coming week, Monday through Friday, you can come get your jersey, shorts, whatever you need that you don't already have. You can come pick that up. It's at the club at Midway. I'll send out more information in an email. A lot of you have helped with uniform distribution, so it's exactly the same place. You can come get what you need. Again, looking more uniform this year. If you're wearing a long sleeve shirt or a sweatshirt, which I know you probably won't need in the spring, but this is especially kind of for the fall seasons, it must go under your jersey. So we want the referee jersey to be the top layer of clothing so you can be identified and we look really good during the game. Another thing for the referees that you're going to need for game day is the app. It's called Big Timer and Clock. It's by BitBit Apps. It's on the App Store. It's on Google Play Store. That's what we're going to use for everyone. We want everyone to use the same digital clock app to do the 30-second clock as well as the official game time. So that's something, all of this will be in an email afterwards that'll go out, but that's another thing that you're going to need on game day. So pregame procedures, it's pretty simple, not much to it. The away team will always call the coin toss. They're the ones in the light jerseys. Once you get that information of who won the toss, find a way to remember which team is going to start the second half on offense and remember too which way they're going to be going. What I would do is I bring the teams together, the captains and the coaches at least. Any important rules or rules changes, that's all stuff we'll get to in just a little bit. I would remind them of that before the game starts so everyone's on the same page. Notify each of the coaches who the head ref and assistant ref is. So throughout the game, if they have any concerns, they can come directly to you if that's your area. And then the major thing is checking jerseys and flags. I know you can see a flag pictured in the PowerPoint here. The flags need to be down and away from the player and easily able to be pulled out. They can't be tucked in. They can't be facing upwards. They need to be, each player needs to have their flags down and away. So during the game, our positioning this year, we're going to have the head referee on the line of scrimmage, and they will be managing the 30-second snap clock. The assistant referee will be positioned kind of at an angle. So if this is the line of scrimmage here, we want our assistant referee here behind the defense, managing the game clock and then moving the 7-yard rush cones. So that will be the responsibility of the assistant referee for this year. So moving on to our biggest section, and Mike and Chuck, if you guys want to chime in here too at any point, just let me know. The main rules for the game, everything's in the flag football rulebook, which comes straight from NFL Flag. It's on our website. You'll hear it referenced many times in emails and whatnot and talk around the league. That's where you can find basically everything. It's like 15 pages and everything is detailed there. Any questions you have can most likely be answered in that book. We do have a few rule exceptions that are exclusive to Penn. This is something that we decided to alternate our game with because it fits kind of our model better. They're on the front page of our printed rule books, which I have one of them here. Each one of the coaches' bag has this, and we're hoping to have one in each of the scoreboards this year as well. Just to go over that, coaches are allowed on the field at all grade levels to direct players before the play. However, they have to move to the sidelines before the snap of the ball. However, coaches in our league, in second grade and younger leagues, can remain on the field as long as they're out of the way of the play. Another rule for us that's an exception to the rule from NFL Flag is that pre-K and kindergarten is completely coach snap. The coach snap will be on his knee or facing the side on the ground, snapping the ball to the quarterback. And in second grade and younger leagues, so just first and second grade, we're going to do side snaps, which is an exception to the rule as well. Another change for our rule-specific changes is that one team goes up by 28 points. The official rule from NFL Flag is that the game is over. However, for us, that's not the case. At that point, the score is finalized as is, and then from that point on, it's basically a scrimmage. You'll play the rest of the game, 2 20-minute halves, and you'll finish out the game just as a scrimmage, not keeping track of the score. Stands as is after 28 points has been achieved. So I also want to go over, for those of you who were referees last year, you know that there were a couple major changes to the rule book compared to the past seasons. The biggest one especially being that there's now 4 downs to cross midfield. On 4th down, the team has a choice whether or not they want to punt or go for it. If they go for it and don't get across the midfield line, the other team will take possession at the line of scrimmage where that previous play occurred. If it's a pass or if it's a run, wherever that player is down prior to the midfield line. If they elect to punt, the other team will start on offense on their 5-yard line, exactly where any other drive would normally start in the years prior to this. Another change too that we need to enforce more often and with confidence is the snap clock rule. It's no longer 30 seconds, it's 25 seconds, which I know is kind of 5 seconds off of the coach's time to direct their players. But it's something that we need to enforce across the league because it's part of the rule book. Um, those are the three major, or the two major changes, I should say, for the rule book. There's a couple overtime changes, but at that point, usually most of our refs will go straight to the rule book for the overtime rules to make sure they're on the same page with both of the teams. Extra points are returned if they're 2-point conversions. They can be returned by the defense. That's another change. Of course, there's no fumbles. It's a dead ball. That's the way it's always been. It's something that is often confused among coaches and referees. It's always a dead ball. If there's a fumble, the play is blown dead. Another question that I got frequently last year was, where is the ball spotted? A lot of people thought it was where the player's foot was, wherever they stepped out of bounds, or their flag was pulled. A lot of people thought it was where the ball was. So the official rule is that it's wherever the ball is when the flag is pulled. That is the point where the runner is down and the play is over. I think that's pretty much covers the major changes compared to the previous years. There is one that I don't really think is a change, but I think they changed the way they worded it. If you have a rusher who's behind the 7-yard rush line and they're drawn offsides by either the snap count or any kind of motion from the other team, they are not allowed to rush on that play, but anyone else who is behind the 7-yard rush line is free to rush at that point. I think that is pretty much it. If I am missing anything, Mike and Chuck, just let me know. I think those are the major changes, though, compared to the previous seasons.
Bryce, you're right on. Those are all of the major changes. I've written them all down. You hit every single one of them. Great job.
Okay, perfect. Um, Something else we're going to experiment with this year, and I know we're kind of going back and forth on how to do this, and we're not sure if we're going to have it ready for week one, but we want the referees to have the penalty enforcement guidelines written out, which are actually on the back of the rule book here. I know it's a lot, but we want the referees to have that easily accessible. And I know in years past, referees would have that on their phone, or they'd have to run over to the rule book and make sure that it's the right call for that play. We want to have the referees able to get to that penalty call within a split second and make the call correctly. So we're thinking about doing kind of like a quarterback wristband type thing where you can just flip it open and look at the penalty, how many yards it is, if it's a loss of down, and enforce it from there. We're also looking at having like a little scorecard that you keep inside your pocket with all that information on it. More detail will come with that, but we're definitely looking for a way for the referees to know exactly what the penalty is right on the spot.
Yeah, let me just add, Bryce.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, guys, you'll have a card printed out. We're going to make a small card that you'll have with the major penalties on it. But every coach or every team has received an equipment bag, and in it they have the full rule book. We printed it out for them. It's in there. It's like a durable copy. So they all have the rule book at the field, assuming they have their equipment bag with them. We will also put a rule book in the scoreboard. And like I said, you'll have a card with all the penalties on it, like kind of like that what Bryce showed you, but we'll shrink it down to card size so that you can quickly see what the calls are and what the penalty is. So you should have, that's 4 copies of the rules basically at every game. You should have 2 with the coaches, 1 on the scoreboard, and 1 in your hand. So hopefully that helps you know all the rules better and have access to them.
For sure. And that kind of ties into my next point. And our goal each year as a unit of referees is to always get better, become more clear with our calls, not just for the teams, but for the spectators involved and all the coaches, and have better communication with all of them. That's where confidence and clarity is super important when making a call. If you are confident in your call and you're clear about what the call is that was just made, you're going to come off, of course, more confident in the actual game in general, and you're going to have people that are willing to follow along with you. Now, granted, we don't want your calls to be wrong, but as long as you're coming off with confidence, people are gonna buy into that, and they're gonna believe you, and that's what we want, especially when you're making the correct calls. Um, so having something like the rules easily accessible, and especially having the penalties right with you on your wrist, that's going to help you be even more certain to make the right call and give you the availability to be confident when you're displaying that information. I know we've kind of talked about doing a make the call test. We don't have that ready to go yet, but it's something we'd like our referees to do. We want a clear blow of the whistle and a clear call. And I know it's tough with masks, but we want everyone who's on the field to know exactly what the call is, what the penalty is, and if it happens to be, why it was called and enforced. So that's the biggest thing. If we can get even 10% more clear with our calls this year, it's going to take our game to a whole new level. So the last kind of piece of game day kind of preparations and stuff to get ready for that is score reporting. Basically, how this works, it's the head referee and always just the head referee, no assistant referee. Text me the score, and I will make sure that my phone number is everywhere for you guys to see. It's on every email. You guys send me the score of your game that you just refed upon the conclusion of the game, not 2 hours later, not the next day. I need it right when your game ends, and it just has the format that's on the screen. I just need the time, simple 2-digit number, or 1 digit if it happens to be at 9 or 1 or 2. Your field location, Penn Field 2, here as an example, Team 1 score and Team 2 score. I don't need any extra information, whether it be who you refed with. I don't need all of your games all at once. I want each game individually. Should just be 4 lines with your time, your location, and then the scores of each of the 2 teams. This makes it easier for us when we're keeping track of the scores. And obviously, if we're missing something, we have to go back and check for it, and this makes it a lot easier to see that. So that kind of covers all the responsibilities for the refs. If there are any questions, whether it be about the process, about the rules, just go ahead and unmute and ask away.
Hey, Bryce, can I jump in real quick before
Yeah,
you take a bunch of questions? And it's more of a commentary to tie into what you had said. All of the officials that are on here, you guys are signing up for a job that is a thankless job when you get in and you start reffing. So just like if you were to get up in front of your class and you were to give a speech, the more you know about that speech, the more you know about the topic, the easier it is to speak on it, right? So take time to get through the rules. Take time to review them, take time to learn them. And if I were officiating every week, I would take a look at the rules each time through. You're gonna make mistakes, right? It's human nature. Just like the coaches who are coaching these games are making mistakes in the plays that they're calling, or the athletes on the field are making mistakes in how they're executing. What we want to make sure is that the mistakes that you make, you learn from, right? It's an easy thing to do. As we move forward, we learn from those mistakes. And you become a better official each week that you're out there. And it's something that you can absolutely do. So, sorry, if I could just say to you guys, like, make sure, read through the rules. And when you make your calls, be confident about what you're making those calls on, and don't necessarily answer comments from coaches. If a coach asks a question, you could surely answer it, but I would keep it short. stick to your call, be short with it, and don't respond to comments. If it's a, hey, excuse me, ref, I have a question for you, then you could certainly answer it, but don't disrupt the flow of the game as you move through. We have a lot of faith in you guys as you move through and you start officiating. And if you find yourself in a situation where you're having an issue, you could always call on Bryce. Bryce, if I'm not mistaken, they can call you or Mike if they're having an issue with a call, correct?
For sure. If there's any questions, if there's any discrepancy that, is not clear cut in the rule book, always reach out and ask and make sure that there is an answer somehow, some way to what the issue was.
Yeah. And then each week you're going to come across a call where you're like, I didn't know what to do. It was a scenario that really didn't make sense. Send that to the league. Send it to Bryce. Send it to Mike. We can always work out those situations. So the next time you come across them, the call and make right away.
To add on to that, never be afraid to stop the game to figure it out. If you're unsure, it's okay. Take time to review it. If you make the call, you're unsure, hey, the coach questions it. Like I said, everybody has a rule book there. Somebody can be open to somebody showing you a real rule book saying, proving their point. And if you realize you made a mistake and you can correct it, you can stop the game, do whatever you have to do. We're more interested in you getting the call correct than moving through the game quickly. If you're unsure, somebody makes a good point, don't just stick to your guns just because you made the call. Be open to make the change, and upon further review, you realize you made a mistake, correct it if you can, and then start the clock again. So I'll just say that. Be confident, but if you make a mistake, be open to it. Don't just be defiant. Open to it and try and fix it if you can.
And just like they said, prepare yourself before the game day on Sunday. Take some time. I know when I used to be a ref, it's been a couple years since I've actually refed a game, but I used to sit down on Sunday mornings before the games and go through the rule book, make sure I had everything down that was the major kind of impacts of the game, had the penalties known, and that'll allow you to be more confident and to make more clear calls during the game. And it'll create a better experience, I think, for everyone if we're more confident and more direct with our calls. And that's kind of really what being a ref is all about. You're managing the game, and if you want to do a good job, you have to be confident and stand by exactly what you said and what you believe. So I think that kind of
one more, just a quick comment, and then Bryce, take all the questions that these guys have. You're going to come across coaches who don't know the rules. And in fact, it's probably 75% of the coaches that you're going to be officiating the games that they're coaching don't know the rules, don't completely understand the rules. So as an official, you have an advantage if you are prepared. And please don't allow coaches to bully you. Just because they can yell louder than you can doesn't mean that they're right. So if you're prepared and you know the rules, be concise with your call and stick to it. Unless, like Mike said, you feel as though you're wrong or a coach pulls you aside to say, no, the rule is different than you're interpreting it, then you could certainly stop the clock, review it, call Bryce, call Mike. If I'm around, ask me. But don't allow the coaches to take the game over. You're in control of the game.
For sure. And I know a lot of us, I think most of us, if not all of us, are high school students. I mean, most of the people at these games are older than us, but we are the ones in charge. We're managing the game. If there's an issue, if someone's, not complying with what you're asking them to do, you can ask them to leave. You're managing the game. That's your time to make sure the game runs efficiently and without issue. So if you need to ask people to leave or stop the game to make sure you got something right, that's totally fine. It's totally within your right to do that. And I think it's important to do that because then the experience, like I said, will just be better. So if there's any questions about rules or assigning, I know a lot of the new guys, it's probably a lot to kind of understand how the assigning process works. Um, I think hopefully this meeting is being recorded. It says it is, so hopefully I can upload that somehow and send it out to everyone. If not, everything will be in writing. We're going to update our website to make it even more friendly towards the referees, where they can get all their information and stuff like that. But if there's any questions now that I can answer for the good of the group, go ahead and ask away.
Awesome.
Okay, perfect.
This is like a class on Zoom, like at one of your high school classes where none of your classmates want to ask questions. I realize that I'm a teacher. I deal with this stuff every day. Guys, on this call, it's so important that you clarify the things that you have questioning right now. So feel free to answer. Trust me, if you have a question, it's a question that someone else has. So bring them up.
And if you don't want to say anything either, you can toss it in the chat. I've got the chat open just in case anyone wants to put anything in there.
Great job, Bryce.
Okay. All right. So thank you again for everyone for taking some time out of your Sunday night to do this. There will be more communication within the next couple of days about the upcoming season. Make sure 5 to 7 every night this week you can come get your stuff that you don't have already. We will make sure to have all that stuff ready for you guys. If there's any questions, you can find my email pretty easily within TeamSnap or my phone number. And just reach out to either me or Mike. And I know Chuck would definitely be willing to reach out to you guys if you have any questions too.
Sure will.
All right. Well, thanks again, everyone. And I hope you all have a good rest of your night.
Thanks, Bryce. Good job.
Bryce.
Thanks.